So I believe we we all have this sheet. So I'll start by using some if. These are just like cookie names, country, cookie sold. In this cookie name, we have chocolate chips, we have oatmeal rising, we have different names of cookie here. Then in this country side, we have different country just like United States, we have India, we have Philippines. We just have three categories of country. Then these are just the cookies sold in each, just like chocolate chips sold in United States are just 28. So this sum is especially when you start seeing it in a function. It's just like a condition. So I should have given the permission for the class rep to accept to keep accepting students, but I'm still having a technical issue. Try to use their email so that they will have access to the accepting of them into the class. So probably before next class, I would have figured it out. So I tried it today and it was not giving the result I actually want. So before next class, I should have figured that out. So if you see me accepting students, just bear with me. So when you see if in any function, it's just like a condition. So if is used for a condition, even in programming, you call it conditional statement. Probably you have background with coding before. You would have heard about maybe like if, else, or else, or else if, or else, or else. So those are just like condition. When we start programming, we'll be putting them, writing a condition. If this is not this, that is not that. So we basically use them to write some basic functions, and this can be incorporated into Microsoft Excel. So how can we apply, or what are kind of questions can use all these conditional statements to answer? So just like now, I can use to sum cookies sold in United States. So now I may want to check the total cookies sold in United States. So how can I go about that? You know, there are some cookies that are sold in India and there are some cookies that are sold in Philippines. So I can use if statement sum if to get the total sum of cookies sold in United States. And how can I go about it? Because they have a syntax that we need to follow. Don't let us forget that. So we start with equals to sum if. It can be in capital letter and it can be in small letter. Both of them will work. So when we use sum if, then you put your condition. You put just like now, okay. Microsoft Excel is already showing us the categories like what were expected to repeat in this bracket, just like range, criteria, and sum range. So these are what Microsoft Excel is giving us, and if we really understand how to use them, we will see that okay, in the place of range, what am I to include? And I think we've been working with range for a very long time, so we know that range is just like the total, the range of the value that we are working with, or the range of maybe names of different things or countries that we are working with, just like the range that we are working with, the value between what we are. So the range here is to get the sum of cookies sold in United States. So this range is just like United States, which is in C column. So and I discovered something. You can use, instead of, when you are working with a large data set, instead of you to keep checking where the data starts and where the data ends. You can easily use C column C. So this C column C, instead of you putting the numbers of range, so at times you can have a large data set that you don't really want to disturb yourself to scroll up and down. So if you use C column C, it's going to select it from beginning to the end, even if it's 5,000 or 6,000 rows inside that column. It's going to select it from the beginning to the end. So let's take note of that. So you can easily use C column C or probably D column D. Any column that you are working with, just put without number. It's going to select them from beginning to the end. So let's take note of that. So now I want to check the sum of cookies sold in United States. So I firstly pick the range of the country, which is C column C. So then comma C C3. C3 is, I said, total cookies sold in United States. You know, C column C is just highlighting everything in country. And inside that country, we have United States, we have India, we have Philippines. So it's just like three different unique value, like unique country under that country. So we have United States, we have India, then we have Philippines. So we can, at times, those countries can be more than that. Then you have to pick the criteria. What is the criteria? Is it that the total cookie sales or sold that you are looking for, is it in United States or is it in India or is it in Philippines? So me now, my own concern is checking for the United. So that's why I put C3 and United is in C3 column or row. So picking that, then after checking for the criteria, the next thing is sum range. What is the sum range? The sum range is our cookie sold, which is D. So instead of picking picking just like I can use that D column D to highlight everything. So in case you are working with a big data, instead of you checking where this starts and this ends, so you can easily use that. So when you use that, you click on enter. When you click on enter, you can see now that the total cookies sold in United States is 362. So instead of solving like now, if you use your calculator to add this to get and this, I think it ended in this 100. So you can see that the total cookies sold is 362. And you can also check for another criteria. Let me just maybe like total cookie sold in India or Philippines. So let me just quickly try that before I move to another uh, conditional functions. So sum in bracket the range is C, just like the way we did it the other time. But now India is in C10. So C10 comma the total cookies sold, the range of that, the sum range where we want to get the range, like the sum range of the cookies sold is D. So D. So when I click on enter now, it's able to sum the total cookies sold in India. This is for United States. And also at times, instead of putting it, instead of just you know that this C3 is the United States, and if I click on this now, this C10 is India. So at times you can put the names of that country in a quotation mark, but at times there are some Microsoft Excel here that does not allow you to do that. Like my own Excel now, if I put it inside the quotation, it will not work, whereas it's still part of how you can go about it. So you can just give it a try on your own or on your own system. Instead of system, which is India, you can just put India inside a quotation mark and just put the range C and D. So and try it will work. So yeah, we have 301, 301 for the India. We have three uh we have 362 for the United States. Then you can also try from your own end, you can try for Philippines. So and we know that Philippines is in C17. So you can also try that on your own because I only did for United States and India. So and when it comes to sum if, we are done, like I'm done with sum if. But now I want to explain how we can use sum ifs. That is, if sum if that has an else at the end. So how can we go about that? Now, if I want to get the the chocolate chips and hot meal rising sold in United States. Now, if you notice something, we can only work with the cookies sold in a country only, just like in a country. But some it now can give us, like, we allow us to we allow us to, sorry for that. So we allow us to combine those cookie names. So you can check, like you can specify, just like maybe chocolate chip, you can specify sugar cookie. You can check them one after the other because some ifs has multiple, like it give you a wide range, like give you an opportunity to explore more. So now, and there are some syntax that you use, just because those syntax are not always the same, like the way we use some if is different from some ifs. So the sum ifs, now let me show us how we can work about that. So you use equals to sum ifs, then it can be in capital letter and it can also be in some small letter. So either ways, both of them work. So DD, and don't forget I said you don't need to check the range at which you can just know the names of that column. If it is E, F, G, anything, just note it and just specify D column D, so that you won't be bothered of checking where it ends, where it starts, because at times it may be a problem you checking where a particular column start and end. Just put in that D or E or G or is going to highlight everything. And I think there's a shortcut for it too. Maybe Control Shift down arrow, Control Shift plus Control plus Shift then down arrow. Or if you are using Mac, is command plus shift then down arrow. But the problem of Excel, you applying a formula in this and it will not work. That's why I don't really talk about shortcut. So I prefer typing it out myself, because I can do some things now and you try it on your own, this thing, it will not work. So the compatibility of these Excel's versions of years or 365 or normal installed one, they may not be the same at times. So now continue. D highlight cookie sold and C highlight the names of country. So now followed by my criteria. You can see it now that we have sum range. Our sum range is D column D, which is the cookie sold. While our first criteria range is C column C, which is the country. Then what is that criteria that we want to work with? So what is our criteria? Our first criteria is C3, which is C3, which is United States. So we want to check the cookie sold in United States, then we want to pick the cookie name. So now that's our first criteria. We are going to put the other ring that we want to work with, which is B column B. You can see that B is the cookie name. The cookie sold is the first sum range, and the first criteria range is country, which out of the country we are working with United States. Then the second criteria range is B, which is cookie name. So after that being said, we have to check for criteria range again. which is what criteria range we want to work with. The criteria range we want to work with now is chocolate chip and uh, oatmeal rising, and we can also work with from chocolate chips to probably sugar cookie. So and we can also work with picking one. So you can only pick, at times you can just pick B3. Okay, B3 we highlight only chocolate chips. That is, you want to check the total sum of chocolate chips sold in United States. So we want to check the calculation, like the total sold of chocolate chips in United States, or probably you want to calculate the total chocolate chips sold in India, if there is a sales of chocolate chips in India or probably in Philippines. But now we want to treat the total chocolate chips sold in United States. So now the first range, as I said, is D, then C for the country, then the range of our first abi second criteria range, then I can put it as B4, just like me working with chocolate chips and hot meal rising, and I can pick one out of them whichever way. So picking the two and me pressing enter, you can see now that is able to fetch the total chocolate chips sold in United States is 28, and we can actually trace it. So like you see that in this United States there are different names here. We have chocolate chips, we have oatmeal rising, we have sugar cookie, we have snickerdoodle, we have birthday cake, we have peanut butter, we have, these all are sold in United States, and the only chocolate chips sold is 28. The others are different chocolate cookies name. Whereas the other one that we pick as hot meal rising is also 32. That is, that's the only hot meal rising sold in United States, compared to others are different cookies name sold in United States. So this sum is help us to figure out the total cookies sold in United States and the total hot meal rising sold in United States, and this can be changed. We can also go by picking, probably, let me just pick, I can pick another country. So instead of this C3, I can just pick C10, which is India. My C10 is India. So I can check for okay, I need to change this to 10 also, to really highlight the one I want to work with, which is C11. So now I've highlighted the chocolate chips sold in India and oatmeal rising sold in India. So if I click on enter now, I can see that my value change, I have 75 and I have 32. That is, the total chocolate chips sold in India is 75, and the total oatmeal rising sold in India is 32. So you can just play around with, extend your range, put different parameters or different value, and even if you see another data just that look the same way, you can formulate some insights that you need, that you feel that they are necessary to get from that particular data. So now, after that being said, let's go to average if. So what is average if used for? So average if is just like, I want to check some certain average of chocolate or cookies sold in some certain region, or probably, let me check for the value of chocolate cookies sold, and probably add the one, or we are using average, check the average of probably cookies sold less than this particular total or this particular amount. We can just let me just, so that it won't be like I'm just talking. So let me give some scenario of that, and we see it working. So this is just average, and average can be capital letter, it can be small letter. It depends on how you want it. So so what is happening here? So if I have to clean this, so equals to average if, and I want to check the my criteria range is B. So because average if can only work with number, because you can only calculate the average of a number, you can't calculate the average of a state or a country, or probably the names of cookies. So putting the range of D, then comma, okay, less than. So I want to get the average, like I want to get the average of cookies sold that they are lesser than 100, or probably I want to get the average of cookies sold that are greater than 100. So this, just because I specified this condition, that average if of this column which is lesser than 100 is, that's what I want to get the average of. That is the average of cookies sold that is lesser than 100. So if I click on enter now, I can see my output. So this is just like the average cookie sold that is lesser than 100. And I can also do maybe like the one lesser than 75. And don't forget, this must be inside the quotation, because if you don't put it, it can either be a single or double. If you don't put it inside the quotation, you are not going to get the right thing, or it will not work. So let's always take note of that. So I can get the average of value cookie sold that is lesser than 75 instead of lesser than, that one lesser than 100. It can only find the average of cookie sold that are lesser than 100. Now I want to break it down, that okay, give me the average of cookie sold that is lesser than 75. So if I click on enter now, you can see that our value changed. So the first one, okay, let me do it differently so that I can see the average is, then my condition, followed by, after my range, that's my condition, followed by this. Then if I click on enter, you can see this is the average of cookies sold that are lesser than 100, and this the average of cookies sold that are lesser than 75. And you can trace it down here, that there are some that they are 90. Okay, if I said lesser than 100, it's going to find maybe like 92, 89. But when I beat it down to 75, it's going to omit the one greater than 75, which is 100, 92, 89, and the like. So that's just the concept of average if. So now we want to work with average ifs. So how can we work about that, and what can we use it to do? So we can use it to check for average sales of chocolate chips and hot meal rising. So now we can, it's just like sum if. There's some condition you can put into that, and when it comes to sum ifs, there are more conditions. Now we can easily calculate the average of chocolate chip sold and hot meal rising sold in maybe a particular location, and we can also apply that to different country. So what are the syntax? How can we write it out? Let me just write that out and see how we can work with it. So it can be in capital letter and it can be in small letter. Sorry. So average if, then we have to put the range. So this is giving us a suggestion of what to do. So you can easily use it to probably read or remember what to input. So the first thing is the range, then the first range and the second range. So Then the criteria here is C3. Then the second range, then the criteria. So now we want to get the average so of cookie chocolate chips sold in United States. So we want to check only the average sold of chocolate chip sold in United States, and we can change this to probably this India is C10. So we can also change it to Philippines C17. So it depends on what is the range that we want to the country we want to calculate for. So now we can easily check the average of chocolate chip sold in United States, and if I click on enter now, it's going to give me that the average sold of chocolate chip in United States is 28, and we can also do it for another country. So but not to waste our time, I will not be doing them simultaneously, but in our own practice time we can just rewatch the video or probably try to implement them with another criteria. So now coming to count it, what can we use count it to do? So we can use count if to count the numbers at which a country appears in cookie sales. So you can use count if to count the numbers of the country so like where at times you will be working with a company that they probably need where they have a maximum sales. Maybe you are working with different location, different country. It's very necessary to a stakeholder or business owner to know the particular country or the particular location that is giving them more sales. So now we can use count if to count the numbers of sales of cookies in United States or probably in another country. But just because United is at the top, I would love to work with United States. But in your practice time, you can change it and use other criteria. So sum if, then the range, we have to put the range, and I have to put the condition. You can see just condition to me is criteria actually. So it's giving us, you can see some if, we have range, then we have criteria. Our criteria is United States. So that's just all about some if. So if I click enter now, you can see now it's able to count the numbers of cookies sold in United States. So now if we count it, you can see one. This is the names of the cookie button. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But this is very okay just because we can use our physical eye to see. What if you are working with thousands of rows? That it is very difficult. Even if you want to count it, it will take your time and is a time consuming, time wasting. So you can easily use a formula like this to count. Okay, what are the numbers of cookies sold in this particular region? Maybe in India, maybe in United. It depends on the country. But now I'm just picking United States as an example. And count ifs will be our assignment. So we should learn how to use count ifs on our own. So that's assignment from today's class. So now I'll be working with min if and max if. So after this, I will give room for asking of question. Then we move to another topic. So let me quickly implement how we can use in a min if. That is the minimum minimum sales of a certain cookie in maybe a location. So minimum is, then bracket, the range, we can see it here, minimum range, So that can be our guide when we are working with them. So you can just be reading it. We have minimum range, we have criteria range one, then we have criteria range one, then we have criteria. So it can be criteria one and you can work with multiple criteria, criteria two, three, just like that. So now uh, that's mistake. C2, is it C2? No, C3. So I'm working with United States, which is C3, and I'm working with um, my second range is B to B, then the second criteria is this. So I'm checking the minimum sale of chocolate chip in United States. So just like putting the first range, then the criteria range one, the criteria, then putting the the criteria range, just like the way it suggested it. So you can easily, it can be just like instead of cramming them, most of the time if we really understand them, we can use that suggestion this thing. I think it happens on every laptop. So on every Microsoft Excel, when you start typing, it's going to suggest those range for you so that you can easily input. So now I need to click enter, and it gave me that the minimum chocolate chip sold in United States is 28. So now I can check, just because these are just chocolate chip, what mean, like these items are one. So having been we have multiple of them in a location is going to make it more, but just because it's one, you may see that the work is not really much. But when there are many, these are still the same formula you're going to apply to them. So now let me work with max E, that is checking for the maximum sales uh, of let's work with chocolate chips also in the United States. But when you are practicing, you can just keep playing around, removing those names of country in chocolate the names of chocolate chips sold in certain region, which is country, maybe United India, or you can even go on Kaggle to download and practice. So just be mindful of working with too large data sets, because when you start working with too large, that's why we have different tools. We have Python, we have Power BI, we have SQL. Some of them have their weakness and strength. It's more efficient when you are working with Microsoft Excel with a minimal data, not really large. That's when it's going to shine. You'll be able to do all you want to do. So yeah, let me just put the range, just like the way we've been working with them if we are following along. So see, so so we want to check the maximum sales of chocolate chips. You can easily see my screen how we highlighted them. So we can easily calculate the maximum sales of chocolate chips in United States or India or Philippines or any law, if those countries are more than that, so you can easily put your range. So if I click on enter now, it's going to return the maximum chocolate chip sold. The reason why it's 28 is because the highest chocolate chip sold in United States is still 28, because this 67, 44, there are other cookies that we don't specify in our condition. Adding B, we have like maybe three or four or five different chocolate chips sold in United States. Is going to find the maximum, is going to compare them down and look for maximum, so that we can, okay, out of the probably these chocolate chips that we sold um in this particular region, like what is the maximum sale of this particular product, so that we know, okay, this is the maximum sales of this particular product. So it's just like to check for the maximum sales of a certain product, and the product we are working with is chocolate chip, checking the maximum sales in the United States. I think that's all I have for the first category of the class. Before I move on, I would love to give us a chance to ask a question if we have a question before I move to the next thing. So if we have a question, please just let's raise up our hands so that it won't be like everybody wants to talk at the same time. Okay, Mr. Adam Adedeji, please can go ahead to speak. I think you are the only one for now. Can you hear me, please? Okay, let's Mr. Adam Adedeji go first. I cannot hear you from my end if you are hearing what I'm saying. Okay, it cannot come before it just because is what I followed to impute those conditions is the suggestion the Microsoft Excel gave. It's just like that's what we call syntax, especially in programming. So there is a syntax for each each concept. So if we don't follow the concept, it's going to lead to an error. So that is, it will not be able to solve the particular problem that we want it to solve. So we need to follow the syntax. That's why it keeps giving us what we are meant to include. So we have to follow that trend. If we don't follow the trend, it's not going to give the result, and it's going to end up giving us an error. Do you get? You're welcome. So, so the second person should go. Anne, please you can speak up. Good evening. Okay, is it just if or ifs? The one that have s. Is it okay? Okay, okay. You're welcome. So who else has a question before I quickly explain that before I go to the next concept? If you have questions so that I can answer them like together so that there will not be an interruption again. So is there anybody? Oh, sorry, I don't know that I have mute my mic. Sorry for that. So is there anybody with any question so that I can explain everything together at once? Okay, you can go ahead to ask your question. Okay, okay. Felicia, please go ahead before Ijoku please. Okay, okay. I will note them down and I'm going to explain everything together. Then Kingsley can go on. To the, okay, okay. I'm going to, you're welcome. I'm going to do the average use and count it together before we move to another concept. So who else have a question so that I can gather them together and answer them all together? You have question again? Okay. I think there's no more question. So let me just move on. So let me just come to to this average if, and what average if is, just just like average. You can only, in this column we have cookie name, we have country name, and we have cookie sold. So we cannot get the average of cookie name just because chocolate chip, hot mineralizing, sugar cookie, birthday cake, peanut butter, they are cookie names. So function like average cannot work to get them just because they are text, they are not number. Then when it comes to country, just like United States, India, and the likes, it will not work also just because they are text type. So now, what can be implemented in average is their numbers, and these numbers are just like, okay, out of the cookies sold, we want to get the average of the cookies that are lesser than 75. It's just like, okay, maybe the stakeholder or the manager of the product is telling you that, okay, we want the average sold of this, but the one that are lesser than this particular, like there's a range for them. Maybe they have a metrics for calculating their success in their company, and they just want to get the average of this, like there's a bench to, just like a benchmark to, okay, the sales of this, we just want to check the average of the one that are lesser so that we know what to improve on, or probably if we need something to improve, or probably some product to drop. So setting this, I try to, and I explain that instead of us, when we are working with range, instead of us to look where the range started and where the range ends, we can use just the name of that column, then putting column in between. So it's going to help us to highlight it, or probably we use shift, control shift and down arrow on our system if it works. And if you are using a Mac OS, it's command plus shift then down arrow. So here we just want to get the average of cookies sold that are lesser than 75, and this condition must be put, or we can call it condition or criteria, must be imputed inside a quotation. It can either be a single quotation or a double quotation. So let's always, because if you don't put it inside the quotation, it will not work. So let's always take note of that. So now I'm getting, like, I'm looking for average of cookies sold that are lesser than 75. So if I click on this, I'm able to get the average cookie sold that is lesser than 75. They are 40.4375. And also here I use, like, this, the first criteria was average of cookie sold that is lesser than 75, and the second one is average of cookies sold lesser than 100. So the two conditions are different. The first condition is lesser than 75, and probably the manager told you that, okay, let's increase the benchmark to be 100 to check the average yield of this particular product that is lesser than this particular amount. So I'm using the amount used there is 100. The first one is 75. So I think I cannot even call it amount, but I can see it's just like the numbers of them. So the numbers of cookies sold that is above 70, that is lesser than 75 should check the average, and the one lesser than 100. So I'm just trying to put the scenario into ways. You can work, it can even be lesser than 50. Probably, okay, now if as maybe like in school and they just want to need an analyst to just give, okay, maybe there is a score to some certain student on a particular course, and they just want a condition to check that anybody that scored below 40 or below 50, that shows is a fail, that shows those people fail the course. So this kind of condition can be used to check that, okay, any score that you encounter, we want to check the average of people that fail, or maybe the metric they use is anybody that score below 75, below 50 or 40 rather. So they just want to check the total value, the average of people that fail, that is people that score less than this certain mark. So that's just what the average is, or this thing is used for, putting a condition with certain or if condition with a certain function. Then when it comes to count, so count can be used to count the number of cookies sold in United States, and not only in United States, it can also be used to count the numbers of cookies sold in India, or probably the numbers of cookies sold in Philippines. So this country can be more than these three. It can, you can have a unique value of country that is up to 30 or 20. So to check, maybe like to pick them one after the other, checking the total cookies sold in each this country. So now I'm picking United States. That is how many cookies sold in United States, and I can see that is 17. So count, as we know previously, that I've explained that, okay, count, we use it to count an item. So now we are now adding a condition to our count. That is, instead of just counting all, count this specific range or count this specific criteria. You know, if we use normal count, it's going to count from United States to Philippines. But now we don't want it. We only avoid that by using a condition, that is count only cookies sold in United States. You can also check for numbers of cookies sold in India. You can also check the total cookies sold in Philippines. So these are just like putting a condition instead of counting every cookie sold in the whole data set. So that's just it. Then also count it give you more criteria to check more detail. That is, instead of United States, you can even combine the names of cookie names that can be counted. So you can add the names of cookie name that can be counted based on, okay, probably how many chocolate chips that is being sold in United States, or how many oatmeal rising that is being sold in United States. That's just like count ifs. Putting else, it give you more range, like give you more criteria to add to your condition. So that's just what that means. So now I'll be moving to the next thing that I'll be talking about here is text function. And I think we've used proper before, we've used string, but I don't think we've used concatenate. Then we've used, okay, I guess the only one that we've used before is proper and trim. So what proper does is proper puts them just like now. We have the first one is capital letter, the second one is C, the third one is C, and we can see that the hygiene start with capital letter, the cookie start with small letter, the company starts with small letter. In this place, just like probably you are working with some text type column that has, these are just short so that you can see how it's being done, then you can bring that knowledge to a big data set. So Mm, if you encounter a text type, so you can easily put you can easily put the proper. You just know that the first thing is identify that this particular function, what is it used for? And also Google is our friend, and I think there is one chat GPT that everybody is shouting about now. We can also make use of it too. So asking a certain question, or probably how to use it. So when we those are just like things that can make our work more efficient. So you can use something like that to you can ask question on it. Maybe probably you encounter some function that you've not used before, or probably you are using it and it's not working. You can even Google it and see. And I'm so sure that some can even put examples of how you can implement it. So it's just another problem, another challenge is their year of Excel may not be the same as yours. So when you apply it and it's not working, your when you are searching for solution like that, you can identify, like that is how to do this in Microsoft Excel 2017, how to do this in Microsoft Excel 2018, how to do this in Office 3. I think is it my own is 365, but I think there is other version or something. So we can easily check on that. So excuse me a minute, I quickly want to plug my system that it's not okay. Okay. Sorry. I just quickly need to plug my system so that my battery will not go down. So now using proper here, you can see these are just like text functions. So when we see proper, we know that we use them for text. When we see trim, we use them to trim. Maybe probably there's a white space or inconsistency in our text. And concat can even in Python. When I start taking us Python, we are going to try all these things too are applicable to other aspects. So you see how we can concat maybe two column or two row together using pandas, numpy, matplotlib, a lot of library like that. So these are also applicable, and these are background knowledge that we are still going to build more on, and when we start working on different kind of projects. So how are we going to write this proper? Equals to proper. Then proper can be in small letter and it can be in capital letter, the one that works for you. So you can go with. Then this one, you can see here that he said proper, then he puts text. So what text means is asking us that what column or cell is that text is, and this text is in B3. So I can easily put B3 here. Then if I put 3, you can see now that B3 has already highlighted. This is what I want to use proper. That is, if there is imbalance or inconsistency in the uppercase and lowercase, it should help me to put them in the right order. So if I click on enter now, you see now that you will see now that now we have either start with capital letter, the cookie start with small, the company start with small letter. But now when we use proper, we can see now that our first I start with capital letter with IJAN. Then also in cookie is small letter. Now he has helped us to put it in capital letter. Then the company also starts with small letter. Then now it has put that C into capital letter also. This is just like the functions of proper. And let's know the syntax. When used proper, put in the text that is the range. The range can be more than this, and at times it may be like you need to work with a single cell, probably that particular B3, then you drag it down to autocomplete if you are working with a table. But this one is just like a single, that's why I just leave it that way. So at times you may only do it in a cell, then drag the other. So it's going to take effect for everything. So and if we don't want to drag it, you can use, I think, shift, control plus shift then down arrow. I'm not sure, but you can easily drag it. It's going to work. So what is the functions of trim? Functions of trim is just like if there's a white space in between your value. So at times, even trim is not only used for text, it's also used for numbers. At times, there can be a space in between your numbers, and if you want to add them or divide them or perform some arithmetic operation on them, it may lead to error, or yeah, it may lead to error. So at times you need to remove those white space. And how can you remove the white space? You can only remove the white space by using the trim function. So trim function, it can be in capital letter and it can be in small letter. So I'll put in my text, which is B7. So because I want to work with this, so your B can be capital and my own is small, so it's going to work. So now I want to trim Hygiene Cookie Company. So it can be another thing because this is just like the data set you are working with. So you can work with other things. The application remain the same. So if I press enter now, it's going to give me cookie company. So this, I don't think there's a white space here. That's why it looks like the same, and at times there can be a white space. And this also you can drag it down if you are working with tabular data. So you can easily drag it down and it's going to auto complete the other parts. So let's take note of that. Then concat. How can we use a concat function? Concat means joining of two words or joining of two things together. And most of the time we use concatenation for journey to, just like when you start teaching, when you start learning programming, there's a way that if the text is in string, you call something data type, you have integer, float and string. So anytime you are working with probably an integer or float, and there is like you mistakenly tampered with the data type and it changed the nature to a string value, is going to, the addition sign is going to concatenate it instead of adding it. So most of the time concatenation is used for text type, and what it does is bringing two different texts together. So concatenation means bringing two string or two text together, just like you can add ade, ola, and it's going to bring ad. Okay, you write, maybe you write ade and you write ola, and you use concat will bring ade and ola together. Or probably there is a first name and there is a second, the first names and second name, abi, yeah. So maybe the need be that the data that you are giving us two different identity, or probably similar identity that were split into different columns. So you may need to add, to bring them together in a column, or just like name, first names and last names, they may want it to be in a single column. So you use concat to bring them together, and it's going to be. So now, just like this, we have hijack here, we have cookie here, then we have company here, and we want this to, let me clear this. So we want this name to be in a single column. Let me, I want to increase the white of. the so that it can show it. So now this is it. I'm trying to improve to make it more wider. So you use concat, and you can see now that there's a suggestion already. So concat then b2. So the range I want to work with is to do, oh sorry, b11, then to b11. So now the range at which I want to concatenate, like that I want to, the items I want to concatenate is in B cell, is in C cell, and is in D cell. So it can just be like that, maybe even in tabular data, probably in one column, another column, and or probably postal code. Okay, if postal code is in a column, and maybe name of the country is in a column and the name of the state in a column. So they may need you to put the names of the country, the state, and the postal code together so you can concat them. So if I press enter now, you see now that it gave me Ijan cookie company in in a single cell. But you will see that one thing is bad here. He just jampered everything together, and this did not really look nice. So what can I do is by making it to give, by providing a space in between. So how can I do that? I can do that by okay, okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to provide this, although I've not tried it. So let's see if it's going to. um, so let me put the last one will be D11, and let's see. Okay, it works. So now we can see me providing that, just putting that quotation. Let me show us again so that we can see, especially if you want to follow along. So you can see concat equals to concat, then I put in, instead of putting the range at once, so I try to pick them one after the other, picking the cell B11, then comma. This quotation is just like I'm providing a space in between hijack and cookie, then I'm providing a space in between cookie and company. So this is just like providing a space. This B11 is hijack, I'm giving a space before cookie, and giving a space before company. That's just it. B11 is hijack, C11 is cookie, then D11 is company. So this quotation mark is just like giving a space in between them. So let's take note of that, because that's what will make our work presentable. So now working with concat and this symbol work the same way. Just like we use, it's just like and. We use and to join two words or two texts together. So how can we implement that? I can just put, just like you putting a formula, b equals to b15, then I will provide, just put and I'm going to give that space again. So sorry, So I'm going to give that space again. Then I'll put another item, which is C15. Then I'll put the hand operation, then that space again, then put comma, then put D15, which is the last item here. So if I click on enter, oh, this does not work. But let me see my mistake. Okay, let me remove this and let me see if it's going to work. So clicking on enter is not also working. So okay, okay. Mm, 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 mm. Not still working. Okay. Okay. Thank God it worked. So I think let me show us how I did it now. So now I use the operation equals to, then B15 is this agent, then C15 is cookie, then company is D15. So I use AND operation to concat this is space in between them, then concat with AND operation concat C15, which is cookie, then this AND operation to concat the space, then use AND operation to concat the D15. So clicking on enter, it works now just like this. Then also another thing is text join. How can you implement text join? So the way you can implement text join is by using equals to text. Okay, it can be complete in small letter or capital letter. So text join, open parenthesis, put this, then put through. So this is just the syntax for this, then followed by the range. So you can see it's suggesting something for us. We have delimiters. Delimiters is just like the space in between them. And in data at times, it can be just, is it comma separated value? So that's just like comma delimiters, like that is comma in between. But this one, the delimiters, just like something that will be in between them, is a space. And how can we implement the space? Is by putting quotation. So this is just like implementing a space in between our words. That's why, or our text. That's why this is just, that's what delimiters means. What should be in between them. And at times it can be comma in between them. That's the ideas of comma separated value. If you add about something like that. So it can be the delimiters of comma separated value is comma. But the delimiters here is quotation. That is, quotation is helping us to implement space in between those particular words, which are hijack, cookie, and company. It can be other things, especially working with tabular data. So you just know that delimiters are something that is in between them, and here we are implementing a script in between them. That's why I'm using a quotation. Then putting true, that is, this condition must be true, like that is, it must take precedence. When we start working with programming language, you see when you have to put true in some in place equals to true. That is, this condition I'm writing must have effect on this column or this cell or this row. So at times we use in place equals to true in programming, but here you just put the true because this is not as complex or hard as when it comes to writing the code. So, but these are just basic knowledge or fundamental knowledge of programming in terms of data analysis and data science. So this is B19, and we have, I can put this one, allow me to put a range actually. Instead of me specifying those value one another, text join will allow you to put the range, especially if you are working with a large data set, or probably you are working with multiple columns, maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 columns. This one is just like 3 columns, column B, C, D. So I can just put D D19. So I'm just working with, I'm test join what is in B19, C19, and D19. So now you see that it's just the same thing. So it brings what is in B and C and D together. So that's all about that. So now it comes to right, left, and mid. So this is just like you fetching out what is in the middle, what is in the left side, and what is in the right side. So at times you may need to fetch some things, or probably this is 1, 2, 3. You are analyzing the data that they just want to know the main street at which the product is being delivered. So, and running through the whole data, it will be very, very hard and very difficult to do. So you can write a short conditions that can easily bring it out using right, left, and mid. So now I just want to check. Okay, let's start with right. Right. So you can just use a function called right. If correct, okay, is right. Then open parenthesis. You can see text and number. So a number character. So what is text here? So you can just specify where that particular text is. Where is the text is in B23. So B23, then comma. What is the character that we want to fetch out? So, and like how many character, numbers of character rather, numbers of character we want to fetch out. You can read it from here. We have text, this is our text which is B23. Then we have number of character that we need to fetch out. So how can we do that? So numbers of character that we want to fetch out, let me just say 5, or let me use 5 first. Then let's see what happens. If I use 5 here, I can see that this gives me 5 numbers of character, just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because this is the right position. So if I put in, okay, let me just change this to left, and let's see what will happen. So this left, and I'm fetching 5 character. You can see here that I'm fetching this. The first one is okay. Let me just do it individually so that it will look more presentable. Let me just put right here. So then click enter. It's able to fetch 5 character at the right side, in which probably at times you need to count them because you cannot just put any numbers of character that you are not sure about. And I'm so sure every exam has the fourth cell. So probably in that cell, you can easily, because you can, after getting one, you can drag it down to fetch out the rest. So here I can count that, okay, at the right side though, how many characters are there? One, two, three, four, five. That's why I use five. But if I want to use left now, equals to left bracket. So here I can see that at this left I only have one, two, three. So one, two, three. So my the right thing to use here is use three. So if I use three at that left hand side, it's going to fetch me one, two, three, because one, two, three are just three. Then let's try middle and see what middle will give us. Middle equals to middle. Then let me just count what is in the middle. One, two, three, four. I'm going to count the space also. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So let me put 11. Oh, I omitted something. So is it B? Yes, B23. That says video does not work. That says I'm not applying it correctly. Let me see if it's going to suggest something for me, or is it me? Okay, it should be mid. Okay, okay. Thanks for that. So let's just say B23, comma, let me put 11 then. Oh, okay, okay. At least it suggested something for me now. Start number, comma, numbers of character. So I need to check for the start number. What is the start number? If I count it now, one, two, three, four, five. Let me start with five, comma, this. So let me press enter, and I can see it now that it works. So uh, so it's very helpful and useful when we can read that suggestion. The suggestion is the one that helped me out now when the other person told me that it's me. I thought it's me. I don't think I've used it before. So meet, then he said I should include the text, then put the, what is it called, put the numbers where that character is going to start, which I can count as five. And always note that space in between them is also count as character. So it's going to recognize that space as character also. So we should be mindful of it. So counting it with our value when we want to work with something like this. And this is very simple. It work out by bringing out the street. So at times your data in your data set, this is just like part of data cleaning actually. So you may be required to just bring out the street name. So you can use this, then probably hold it, highlight it to the other so that it can auto complete it for you. And at times it can just be like, okay, it's postal code of all the registered candidates that we need. So doing that is going to bring them out also, and it can be the number. So if once you are able to write it correctly, the right, the left, the middle, you can drag it and it's going to give us what we are looking for. So length, what is length used for? Length is just used to count the numbers of character. At times you may be asked to get the length of a certain character used, or probably compare the length of each character in a particular column. But I don't think they really use it there. But at times a need can be. So I'm just trying to show some possible functions and formula that are useful in Microsoft Excel, or and this also is applicable to spreadsheet. You can also, you may want to be good at it, and it's a good advantage. Imagine somebody interviewing you and you are able to tell them that, okay, I use this, I use this, I use this. So it's just like a multiple advantage. Like me now, I know how to use Python also. I can use R programming, and some they only know how to use programming, some only know how to use Python. So I'm me telling them that I can use the both is a very added advantage. So most of the time you can bring this thing to your Microsoft spreadsheet. So trying them, figuring them out, and if you apply them and it's not working, you can easily Google and, okay, how can I do this in spreadsheet? And I'm so sure there are a lot of articles on it that will display, okay, this how it's been done. So let me just put the syntax here, lens brackets, the text. Can we see the selection now? The text is B26, so which is 19. So the counting of this text is 16 and 19. Don't forget that I told us that it's going to count the space also. If you just take like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So just counting those the elements inside that set, and it can be white space altogether. So let me quickly give room for asking of questions based on this before I move to the last part, if I can cover it because of our time. Because this is already 8:31. So if you have questions, you can easily raise up your hand. So there are a lot here. Okay, let me start with Annie. Please go ahead and ask a question before giving other people. So Annie, can you hear me? Oh, I think okay, okay, okay. Okay, I think the only person here is Ayomide. Yeah, yeah. Please go ahead and ask your question. Okay, is it for text joy or is it for concat? Okay, okay, okay. I'm going to explain. I'm going to explain it. So who else? Okay. Please you can go ahead to ask the question. Please, Ayomide, please just drop the end so that I will not get confused. And also, Annie, please try to click on that raise up hand option so that I will not count you. Okay, thank you. So you can go ahead and ask the question. Okay, okay. I'm going to do that. So let me start from concat. Let me check. Okay. So concat here. Uh, my explanation about concat, just like what it means in English word, is like bringing two different things together. So when we are talking about concat, okay, 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 I can hear you. Okay, okay, okay. So the hand symbol just work the same way as concat. Like that is when you concatenation means bringing two different items or different text together. So hand also work like concatenating, bring hand just like I and or Ade and I, like bringing them. It's just like a conjunction word in English. So in Excel too, we use it to join different column or different text in each column together. So now Hijan is in a column, cookie is in a column, then company is in other column. So we need to join them. Then we can use either concat, we can use text join, and we can use this symbol which is hand. So what you are going to do is first recognize, just like reference, you are referencing a cell. Try to know the cell where that text is. So the first thing is B15, which is this diagram. And note that even when you are writing a formula, a function, we always start it with equals to. So when you use equals to, then you put in the name of that cell where that your text, first text is, which is B15 here, diagram. Then you put and then put this column, this quotation means you are providing a space in between them. That's why we are putting a quotation. Then we put hand again, that is add that space to cookie. Cookie is in C15. Then put hand, then we are adding the space in between the cookie and the company. That's why we use and four times here, just like we are adding hyphen with space. We are adding space after hyphen. Then we are adding cookie, then providing a space in between hyphen and cookie. Then we are providing a space in between cookie and company, so that when we run it, the first thing is just recognize where those value is, and you just put and is just like putting them together. Just know that okay, I'm adding this to space, I'm adding space to this, I'm doing this, just like we are setting, just like you are building a house and you know that, or probably are setting up something, you know that this one will come first, this one will, just like imagine it that okay, I want to put space in between this. What can I do? Put a column, then hand, put it, this hand is just like a plus sign, plusing, adding this, just like Adeola, adding Ade plus Ola. So you are putting a space in between so that it's going to look more readable. That's just what it means here. Then I think somebody asked about length, or somebody asked about the last part. So, and I think this is the last part. Working with the left here, I explained that right rather. So the right, you have to calculate the numbers of items at the right. You know that this one, two, three, then main street, then this is at the right side. Then we want to count the numbers of the numbers of that particular item, just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we put in 5 to fetch out just 5 value or 5 figures at that right side. That's why we are able to see this 5. So it's just like counting from the back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's able to fetch out this 5 at the right side. Then when it comes to left, he's able to, coming from the left, he's able to fetch out 3 items at the left side, in which I counted before using 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So if it is more than 3, I'm going to use the number. So the number counted. So if I click on enter now, it fetch out 3 items from the left hand side. Then when it comes to street, which is mid, just like middle. So after imputing the name, then comma 5. 5 is just like when the criteria start. Okay, from where do we want to start counting? That is where we want to pick out the middle item. So and you can count here that this one, two. 3, then the space making 4. We are starting from n, which is 5, then we are ending at this 11. So that's just what we did there. And then this length, Hydrant Cookie Company. So this work for this just like counting the item in this cell, which is Hydrant Cookies and Company, counting all the text inside it, even including the space. So, and when we click on it, it gave us 19. So it gave us 19. I believe I'm able to answer those questions. Yes. So now I'm trying to fetch out this. So I believe everybody has the data set I'm working with. You can just open it on your own end to logical functions and solutions, or logical function data. So any one of the two. You can practice with one, then you can leave one, maybe data, then work with the solution so that you won't affect your previous data. So just keep practicing in the solution part, then checking, maybe you probably want to change in the first aspect. So now checking true or false. Let me start with true or false. So we have Agent Cookie, we have Mr. Foods. So these are just different items, and we want to check if you can, when it comes to true or false, we call it in programming, we call it boolean. If anybody has a programming background there, so we call it boolean. So boolean is just like true or false. So when they talk about a data type called boolean, b o is it b o LEAN or something. So we call it boolean data type in programming. So what it does is just checking two conditions if this is true or false. That's basically what it does. So now how can we check if maybe like the numbers of agent cookie company, the numbers of probably numbers of cookie they produce, or okay, let's just say Hydrant Cookie Company is a company, and Mr. Feed is also another company, and we want to check if what they produce in Mr. Feed is also equals to what Hydrant Cookie Company produce. So we have 10, we have 5, but with our normal physical eye, we can see that Hydrant has the high numbers than Mr. Feed. But if it comes to large data set, it will be difficult for us to see. So we can easily use all these logic functions to check them. So how can we do that? I can start with, you start with equals to anytime you are working with functions of and formula. So locate the reference of the cell so that you can reference the cell. So B4, then I can put the range. Okay, so equals to is not range this time. I will not be saying all this. So B4 equals to C4. So it's just like this names of cookie of Mr. Feed. I want to check if they are equal. So if I click on enter now, can I see that it tell me that okay, I want to check if the total cookie sales, or maybe numbers of cookie produced in Niger is equals to Mr. Feed. So if I click on enter now, it tell me that it's false. That is not right. So this one is easy just because you can see it. If you are working with a large data set, you may not see it, and it's a very cool stuff to know. So I can actually check for another cell which is equals to B. I can compare B B4 equals to C5. If I click on this, it tell me that B4 is not equals to B5. So I can say B4 is lesser than than B than C5. So you tell me that it's true here because I'm right by telling it that B4 is lesser than B5. And you can see here that B4 is 10 while C5 is 11. So if I click on enter or and on mark, instead of enter, on mark we use to return. So in case you are using mark, so you use return instead of enter. So you can see now that it's true. Then after that being said, let's check for if statement, just like the way we are adding if to some if, average if. This is just like a conditional normal. We are going to write all this in programming and we see how fantastic they are. So if, so now the question here is, do we sell multipletives or optimizing? So this is a question. How can we know that, do we sell multiplicative or ultimate rising? So these are just short tables. That's why it's not really looking interesting. If you are working with a large data set, you will see that they are powerful. So how can you know if there is a sales for a particular product than other? Especially a company producing different kind of items, they want to know. Or probably iPhone, for example, there is iPhone 13, 14, 15, sorry, I think 14 Pro Max is the last one. Then we have 11, we have 12, we have maybe 6, 7. So they can actually use this kind of stuff to check if, to know how many sales of probably iPhone 14 Pro Max and maybe 11, or probably MacBook Pro 2021 and 2022, or any product that any company is producing and you find yourself there, or probably you saw a gig online that, especially if you have ideas about Upworks and Fiverr, if especially after you really know what you are doing and you want to earn in all these freelancing platforms just like Fiverr and Upwork. So you can be given a gig whereby you are asked to get maybe data sets of something, or formulating a certain question, or you may even be the one to formulate things, and that's just like the application of it. So how can we write it? Here, I think I've written this function. But let me just quickly explain it so that I will not rewrite it to, because our time is actually. So if you start with equals to if, then now we are writing a condition that if B11 is greater than B12. What is in B11? That is, if total sale, abi, can we see from the question, do we sell more chocolate chip or oatmeal rising? And it can be in a condition whereby, do we sell more chocolate chip than sugar cookie or another product? But this one is just a short this thing. So if equals to if, then bracket B11 greater than B12, comma, chocolate chip. Chocolate chip, just because in text is a text, it have to be in quotation. So that's why I put them in quotation, and it can either be in a single or it can be in a double quotation. This one is in double quotation. You can see, if bracket B11 greater than B12, comma, chocolate chip, comma, oatmeal rising. That is, if the sales of cookies in B11 is greater than this, so it's going to return the one that have the highest sale. And if I click enter, you can see that Hotmail Rising have the highest sale. So it answered this question: do we sell multiplicative or Hotmail Rising? And it's able to tell us that we sell more Hotmail Rising. So that's it. Then you can use and also. So just like we can use and function also. I think I've applied the syntax. If you know here, we only write if, then bracket, we go straight to the condition we want to work with. So here we have to specify after if we have to open another uh, parenthesis, putting hand, then open, then b. You can see that this just the same as okay, the sales of, that is, does chocolate chip sells more than all other cookies. Now in the first one specify that chocolate chips or hot mineralizing. Now is categorizing, does this particular single product sell more than others cookies or others products. So you have to use and here, and I think it's getting more complex. So I just, it's possible I start from here in the next class. So then let me just stop here. I think we have 10 minutes more. So if we have question, I will still have to probably start from here. I even thought maybe it's just the first and second I'll be able to. I don't know that I'm going to get to here. So if there is anything we can address between this time so that we can call it a night. So if you have anything to say, please you can go ahead to talk. Do we have anything or any comments, or probably in the last part, maybe that just like, let me just see if you can ask question on this boolean and this if only. So this boolean and this, understand it, I can quickly explain. But the other, I'm going to start from there next class. So anybody with any question that we need to address? Okay, as you assume that there's no question, if there's no question, let's call it a night then, so that we can rest. I will try to upload the video so that you can rewatch it. Probably there's a place that we don't really get. And somebody dropped in the feedback, somebody said the locking part, uh, he or she did not really understand it. So that I want to probably save maybe Thursday, sorry. So in the Thursday class, I'm going to explain the rest of this, although I'm going to say it in the general group. So I'm going to explain the remaining part of this, then pick that, explain it one after the other, how to lock each and every column and the reason why you lock them. So I'm going to explain it and show how we can all those transpose units. So I'm going to just pick it as if we are working on a project. That's up to like a project actually. So I'll treat it as if we are working on a project. Then the other two classes for next week, I'm going to tell us on what we are going to do. But it's possible we, okay, when I am explaining that locking part, it's possible I introduce conditional formatting. So we can actually do conditional formatting concept. So doing conditional formatting with it, I think that settled the topic of conditional formatting and teaching the unique transpose and how you can lock different kind of columns. Then after that, I'm going to teach us pivot table because I think it's very, very important to know how to use pivot table, how to do some visualization with some certain unique set of some certain data. So I'm going to do that next week so that by next week Thursday we should be cool with Excel and we can easily give, maybe because as time goes on, I'm going to put us in a team that we can work on a project together. So, but let's just keep pushing in this way. So, any comments, or probably don't. Okay, even if there is comment, you can just put it in the in the feedback form. So probably I will share it again so that we won't stop ourselves. Some of us have been working since morning, so you can just go and rest. So good night. everybody.